Hello everyone. Welcome to the Singapore Geospatial Festival 2021, an event that brings the international geospatial community together for co-located activities promoting the use of location-based and mapping innovation. The event is organized by GeoWorks, Singapore Land Authority's Geospatial Industry Centre. In today's session on celebrating SLA's 20th anniversary, Mr. Ng from National Heritage Board will share his experiences in interpreting past addresses comprising of house numbers, postal codes, as well as colonial names of streets and places. If you have any questions later during the presentation, please feel free to leave them in the Q&A chat box. And without further ado, I will now pass the presentation over to Mr. Ng. Mr. Ng, please.
Thank you, Ishan. Sorry for just now the hiccup. So we're waiting. Now we got Hui-san to help me to do my PowerPoint. And since this is more on the sharing section, so probably for those who are not familiar with me, I will give a little bit of my background. I was with serving from MINDEF last time, serving 15 years NHB. So I remember both organizations have a chance to work on map, and many of the collection artifacts, like what the first speaker this morning talk about, like those printed material, daily life item. So Chicken have so they demonstrate that there are so many hidden story can be found in daily life, past object. And this Jurong Lim, the second speaker, so they have also shown us that there are so many. So I think then Molaying, of course, the map expert. So we know each other for nearly 20 years, and many of the display is from him. Then in the earlier day, I remember my earlier task in the national event, those days called Singapore History Museum, is asked to go through the old collection data. So those days, I start to so-called focus on things that are very popular, things like map, and I call it 5P. So in the old days, the museum still follow the British system. They classify item collection by the material. So it's made of gold, then you use the letter G, made of silver S. Then made of paper, they use P. So photograph is P. Postcard is also P. So photograph PA, postcard PC, map MP. Then we have a document and paper, DP. Then the other one is a PB is puppet, so P, but that one is not do with paper. So all the P you put together after looking through them, after a while, then you realize that they are connected. Connected by what? One of the key things is addresses, because these addresses, certain addresses on certain, for example, the old license, old passport, received from the old POSP, that kind of thing. That address make you possible to ping them on the map, and because of that map location, you can become a searchable item. Then people who stay there or other businesses who story happen there, all can be connected. So besides we try to visualize the past, actually we also want to find the connection. So next slide is about what I'm going to do today. Next slide, please. So the introduction part, I want to further elaborate the problem that for a present-day generation, because I've gone through this, to try to understand what our past is talking about. So you see many of the publication, pictorial history or whatever, they are all normally have a very simple caption. Normally address is not given. So if you want to do more research, then you have to try to find the addresses will help you a lot. So next slide will show many other stories actually have been written down by our, for example, this one is Dr. Lai was talking about. Then the next slide show a lot of publication in the 60 and 70 generations. They have published by locations. For example, the Chai Chi Village is a recent publication on the top left-hand corner. The people from Ubin, they write about people from Tekong on the second middle side story about Tekong. So many of them actually is written in other language. So in order to break the code, you need to understand addresses in other languages. For example, the Chinese, the colloquial name, for example. Then Hokkien Hui Guan on the right-hand group, they have published in a recent year, every 1 or 2 years, they do their story about their temple, their school, their traditional Hokkien trade, etc. Their pioneer. So there are many information is out there. Some is bilingual, but many of them still need us to try to understand them and make it make sense. So next slide will show more. So I try to show you where the information actually come from this type of earlier book. So we are not a place that we are without the history. So on the top left-hand corner, you see a lot of early writing. A lot of them actually, some of them get story actually come from the earlier English sources from the colonial master. They have translated into Chinese, then after that pass it out for the those generation in the 60s and 50 to 70. So we have a recent publication on the right. People wrote about Bukit Brown and other story. So next slide is about the directory. So I no need to go through because Dr. Lai has give us a background in the first lecture. Next slide. So we are trying to do that, and my summary is they try to do the connection. So I have also another story about the Kallang Airport. There's one friend of mine, Mr. Yo. He is in his early 80s now. When he is a young man, he ride bicycle to work. So when he cycled to work, he told me sometimes you have to wait at the Mountbatten Road, wait for the aircraft to pass. So those days, when I heard the story about 10 years ago, I don't understand what he means, because in our understanding is wait for the train to pass. The crossing is for the train. What do you mean by wait for the aircraft? So later on, I go and find the map, because we can't visualize the actual location. Don't have any photograph passing out. But I remember Kallang Airport. This is what Zulong Lim has shown us: a circle boundary, then with the runway in the middle. So one of the question in this morning, they asked about the crossing. Yes, it's true. Mr. Yo cycle to work, they have to stop at the crossing and waiting for the aircraft to pass. So I tried to plot the two little possible point that he was stopped to wait for the train to pass. And I asked him from left to right or from right to left. He told me coming down is from left to right. So Mountbatten Road actually is on today the MRT station. So the lower circle on the right-hand side today map is the place. So Old Airport Road is former the extension of the old Kallang Airport runway. Then the Stadium Road is the original runway. So this story tell me that I have a strong understanding that it's very difficult for us to go back to what Mr. Yo have really experienced. So you look at the next summary, next slide. These are some of the things that I have summarized and think that we have this problem, because what the earlier generations has experienced, the landmark, the name of the road, the places is all different from today. So the problem that we have with them is because of the changing environment, then we lost the orientation. Another problem is they are lack in these shared experiences. So they are the generation in southing from Merdeka, then they go through curfew, have to keep racial riot. Students go to the school and sit in, to protest. there is those era, bygone era. So we also can't understand color that they have experiences. So we look at a lot of old photographs. Those public buses actually is in color, but we don't know what is the color like. So many times I have to ask Mr. Yeo, Goyap bus is red and black, is it? That kind of story. So he told me before he ride a bicycle to from Siglap to South Beach Road, he have to he take bus 10 cents from Siglap to Chai Chi Market there. Then he changed to the tram, got all the way down to South Beach Road. He actually worked in the World Bookshop. World Bookshop is today popular book. So his boss is Mr. Chow got a spare bicycle, very good quality bicycle. So give it to him. So he decided to cycle to work. So every day spend almost an hour. When two trips save only 20, one trip 20 cents, two trip 40 cents. So it's a very enjoyable experience. So the smell, the sound, the color, we can't have the similar experience again. So one of the way to try to get closer is one of the I find out addresses is very important. Next slide. So to solve this problem, we need to pin down what is the actual location. That's why you see my slide got a lot of map pin. So this spatial visualization, you can achieve the idea of orientation and distance. So which left, right, front or back, and how far away. You have that type of feeling, then you are really at the first step of get connected. So if you look at the next slide, we actually have experienced this by many organizations like NHP, URA. What they did about the Heritage Trail actually is they are doing the similar thing. So they use the color landmark or those with some of the significant historical event as the actual landmark is gone, then they put a historical site marker there. So they try to link all these thematic for certain locality, certain sector of the Singapore. Actually, they are doing the similar thing, is try to bring you to the actual site and tell the story. So next slide is about the where to find these old addresses. Dr. Lai has shared with us. This is some of the other examples that we can find. Next slide. Even those daily material like this letterhead. So this is some interesting story you can tell from here. I was told in the past, those postmen need, when the letter come in, sometime in Chinese or what, they are somebody do the translation at the site. I'm not sure this one is, you look properly, the center circle is Wayang Street, Wayang Road number 3. So there are some Chinese writing on the other circle. He put Wayang Jie 3号. So the postman can go to the right address. So next slide, this is a 1954 envelope. So in following slide, I'm going to show you more examples of how we try to match the addresses. So this is Hill Street. Before that, one slide before. Here is Hill Street. The center circle, we can see a coffee shop, corner coffee shop called Yue Lan Ting. And this coffee shop, you go to 1962 telephone directory. Actually, you can find that he got 3 branches. Center one listed in 1962 street directory. They say Xi Jie actually is Hill Street 101. So because of Xi Jie 101, we have pinpointed the location, and you go to the 1954 the map, then we can find out where is this corner street. Then after that, you got other 2 branches. So actually, you from this knot and link, you can find out more about this Yue Lan Ting, because this is one of the popular coffee shop in the 1950s to 70s. So next slide is I search further. Next slide, we can see the one in Beach Road 243 still standing there. The prawn noodle is very famous. So I think many of us can recognize that. Then the center one is at the Northbridge Road. They have 2 units. So this location actually is next to the Bras Basah complex. Another example, next slide, is about this Peninsula Plaza. So formerly, that site we have this Mayor Mansion. The building, the arrow pointing at the center of the picture is former Pata Shoe. So Peninsula, there is a Pata Shoe company like selling shoe from Czechoslovakia. The company very famous in the 30s. So their first shop actually is at Capitol. And they bought over this. Their Mayor Mansion got 2 buildings, so they bought over the smaller unit, then to refurbish into the shop look like their HQ in Czechoslovakia. Later on, the Mayor Mansion on the building on the right was torn down. Then Pata is still standing. So in order to find out this, I have to go through many other references. For example, look at the street transport, fashion of the people wearing different artifacts. Look at the advertisement from newspaper SG. Then we trace further, we can find out that this place actually is a former Tao school. Next slide. Former Tao school and the former building we call Siam House. So I will show you in the following slide. So the basic format of the address, this is my second part of my story, is very simple. It's in the olden day, it's just only house number and street name. They don't even have the postal code. So in 1980 to 1983, they start to renumber this, have a new standard. So they have to put the block number or unit number at the front, street name. If you have a individual house number, you go into use the hex and the hyphen. Hex indicate floor level, hyphen is the house number. So this is we are very familiar with this. So in the 1950, postal code was introduced only at 2 digits. After that, they have 4 digits. Then later on, 6 digits. So postal code now is very commonly used because of the digital effect. And also, you call for Grab and anything, we use postal code. But this is, to us, traditional matter, without a digital database, postal code is useless. So normally we're still using house number and street number. So if you have telephone number, you can throw in, then will help you to date the artifact. So next slide is a very important message that I want to give to people is we must understand that this address system doesn't only practical used in the town area. So in the other rural area, they actually don't really follow strictly about house number. The government give them house number, but on the ground, people don't use. So they normally use natural or man-made landmark to refer to where they stay. So for example, commonly known place is under a bamboo tree, they call Tekka. Under a banana tree, they call Kingjoka. Then you have 5 Asana tree in the Padang area, we call Gojang Chuka, 5 trees. Then we have Red Hill and many others examples. And in the suburban area, normally they follow the name of the estate or house, or the Amor house, estate house. They use their name. House number only introduced in the 30s or later stage. Rural area also use milestone and then followed by road name. So you first must identify the main road, which section of that road they mean by milestone. Then you then go into the different lorong and kampong. Sometimes just go to the village. So you look for friends in the olden day, you go to the village, you just ask around, you'll find your addresses. So now this is become a problem to us because very difficult to relate. I always receive query from public. They look for their old addresses. They are given certain number plus the milestone and what. We are difficult to trace because most of these are not marked on any of the map. So there is a gap that we still find difficulty. Next slide. is the key message that I want to share with everybody is about the numbering system. In Singapore, following European system, I mean number 2. So we have one side odd number, one side even number. This is every day we know about that. But in the older period, actually we are using another system, English, or we call it clockwise or anti-clockwise system. That means number are running consecutively at one side. After that, you go to the end of the road, cross over the other. For example, you look at the second slide, please. Next slide. On the left is a clockwise or anti-clockwise. So along this road, you go 1, 2, 3, all the way until 10. After that, 11, then come all the way up back to number 20. So this is a very early system. Up to 1893, they are still using this system. So European system is what currently made. So under this, most of this system is applied to shop house area. So things happen over the years. So either they are combined, so they will pick one number. So number 8, number 1, number 6 is become a popular number. For example, 8 and 10 combined, then they pick number 8. This is a new address. The combined example is on the middle of the picture there. Then they have incident that in the turn of the 20th century, they need to open up back lane. So in order to access to the back lane, you had to open some side lane. So some of the unit was given away. So number 2 to have to jump to number 6, number 4 is disappeared. So they also have incident that they got additional unit, need a number, then to add a letter at the back, so become 2A. Then road widening also take out some of the units. So 18 and 17, the last number is disappear. So another incident is they had to subdivide some of the unit. So this subdivision is very interesting because we can still find some of the solution that in the earlier day they do. Next slide will show you this. So there are still many of the road is still follow the old system, especially Book Key, Circular Road, that area, entire stretch. That's how Mr. Mock showed you about the Thompson landlocked boundary. Actually, the other side, I mean nearer to the Singapore River, is exactly the same also. So there is a best area to look at the old Singapore. But the landlock and numbering is old, but the building have changed. So most of the Circular Road and Book Key building is modern style, shop house, because people got money, they start to change their facade. So they are the 1930s, 1950 building. Kampung Glam is more original in terms of the building. So some of the Kampung Glam Road are also in the old numbering system. So next slide. This is an example of Book Key and Circular Road and Lorong Teluk. So you can see number 26, the one on the 2001 map on the right bottom corner, all the way to number 85, compared to 1893 map. 1893 map to me is a key, most informative information, because this is the only map to give us old address number. So 1893 map, fortunately maybe it's too small here. Number 26, 27, and 26, 27, 28. Under 28, they got a name called Kim Cheng Company. Kim Cheng is son of Tan Tock Seng. So Tan Kim Cheng also council of the Siam, the Thailand. So this address always appear in the newspaper. So the other example of 19 Kampong, this Lorong Teluk, number 1 to 18, number 1 to 16 on the left. 17 disappeared already because of the expansion back lane. 18 because of the combined, that number 18 have become the North Canal Road. So we start from 19 to 24. So because of this, Tan Kim Cheng passed away. The estate of his estate was put on sales. So number 19 to 24 actually belong to Tan Kim Cheng. So we got more stories because we know the address. Next slide. This is a story that I'm talking about. Some have to taken away, combined, and that's why the number changed. So 26 now because of back lane is gone. Okay, next slide. More example about this old system. So next slide is this is a place Dr. Lai will have a fun many because his library once was there, one of his book collection. So this is at Peninsula Street. So you notice that on the left hand side, number 19 to number 22, number 23 actually is not a house unit. It actually is a lane to go into behind of the this shop house. Then that inside there, they subdivided into many small little units. So 24 to 29 is running number. After that, 30 to 33 at the back, 36, 34 to 36. So this is an old system, but they cut off the because shop house is very long, right? So they cut off, then they use the back portion and subdivide it into many cubicles. So this is the only example still survive in Singapore, and they are conserved. If you happen to have coffee or have some drinking session at Peninsula Street, it's nice to go inside there to take a look. Next slide. Another example of this sub is Coleman Street. This is a location of SSL hotel now. So same thing, number 4 to number 7 is shop house. Number 8, you go inside, then you find 9 to 14, 15 to 20. The cubicle size of the room, then after that 21 to 23. So this place that all this completely demolished and become SSL hotel. Then number 3 of Coleman Street actually is House of Coleman, the one predecessor of this Thomson. So also a very important builder in early Singapore. 606, this is the one on top there. 606 North Bridge Road is where the Peninsula Plaza is. So later on, Tondao become Mere Mansion. One of the building of Mere Mansion become Bata Su Company. So Tan Kim Ching House. So before that is this house belonged to Coleman Eurasian girlfriends. So he built another house opposite him and let his girlfriends to stay. So next slide. So this example is let us understand. Once you want to search for old address, you must be careful because a lot of old number is changed during earlier example that I find is mid 1990s. They mean the Tan Kim Ching house. We changed to 107 North Bridge Road, and it was used by Tao Nan School. So Tan Kim Ching don't have many his descendant, the son, most of them passed away early. So his grandson Tan Bulet have taken over, and he let his house to be used to form the first Hokkien modern Chinese school. So then there's an advertisement to ask for Chinese teacher. So that is how I realized that actually the changing is in mid 1990. So Tao Nan School have eventually have a new building in Eminent Street, now the Panorama Museum. So this changing of the renumbering of the major road is take several years. So there is also cause a problem because sometimes we are not really sure the actual changing take place in which year. So we need to do a lot of check and balance to check. So there are still a couple of about 20 of them is still using the old system, and most of them is really changed. Next slide. Example of Waterloo Street, because this is a place right in the Singapore town and still have a bungalow style building in 1890s. So you compare 1893 map, all the detached house along one side of the bungalow compared to current day. But number is all changed already to new system. Next slide. So I have show you and share you how we using the number to get story. So basically, you have to go through a lot of manual work. You go through the clan association directory because they shift a lot. Telephone directory, business directory, and so forth. And very useful thing is look for sales of property, and or somebody passed away, estate or so and so businessman. Normally they will list out what are the property that they own, and sometimes who is the new owner of the new estate. Next slide. So this is a closer example of Tan Kim Cheng estate put on sales in 1913. Tan Kim Cheng passed away in 1892, but about 10 years later, put on sale. Then he is a very rich earlier pioneer. Then you see the sales they go through out here listed 6 days. So on the example I picked here is on the 4th day, number 101 North Bridge Road, 107 North Bridge Road, put on sale. So trade directory also give us another clue, because those days they have many people from China. They want to do business here, so they compile this trade directory. So one more additional step that we have to go and translate the old street name. For example, the Royal Street was called Yan Sun Jie, number 12. So this is 1927 street directory. Probably number 12 is the old address and not the new one. So Beach Road and then Market Street, etc. Market Street was called Zhong Jie, that kind of thing. So Indian Keling Jiling Jie is a cross street. Amoy Street are same. Okay, Cecil Street is the same. Next slide. This is just now. This slide is the answer of the changes about this Peninsula Plaza. So we found that the earliest that number is 606 North Bridge Road. Then we go to the one of the oldest picture that taken from this St. Andrew Cathedral, the top. So based on the address on 18193 map, we get the orientation correct. Then we can ping down this is the house of this North Bridge Road. Actually, Lee Kipling and a lot of our pioneers already mentioned this location is the story about that. It's not a rediscovery, but just hidden behind from all the books that they written by them. So Townan School, 1907, the students still dressing in those Minguo style uniform and standing doing a group photo in front of this house. So newspaper 1914 showing that they are looking for some contractor to tear down this building. So eventually, Mayor mentioned probably built in 1918, and the far side building is actually later on become Pata. They shift in 1940, torn down in the 70s. Next slide. So you work further back because of the orientation and distance. One of the old map by J.T. Thompson, painting by J.T. Thompson. Actually, based on that, we can come up to a conclusion that number B is this 606 North Bridge Road. So other old map, because of the orientation and distance with this St. Andrew Church, so that building most probably is 606 North Bridge Road. Next slide. So we managed to find some photo from Facebook, internet. So this is a comparison of this building. So I always like to use very prominent building like St. Andrew as an alignment, because we don't have this equipment and the knowledge of using those surveyor equipment to take bearing. That's why I always use permanent building, because it doesn't change over the so many years. So you use road, sometimes there is a dangerous, because they will realignment of road, so that we can't take the road as a bearing. We need to cross check with others. So building sometimes is very reliable. So actually, this St. Andrew Cathedral and the Eminent Street is form a straight line. So it's from the 1893 map, can give you a lot of a clue. Then when you go on the ground, then you can figure it out what is the actual plot site. So people like us, laymen, like many of you, we enjoy doing this. So if you do more enough, you can become a feng shui master. So there is a joke, because you can feel it, because you look at the map. After a few rounds, you can feel the location, the boundary, and the distance and orientation. Next slide. More information about Pata building, because formerly also another famous shoe seller, Teo Eng Hock. This guy, this earlier pioneer, involved in Sun Yat-sen activity in Singapore. So he owned a shop down there, 117 North Bridge Road. So in this map, you can see 117, 118, and 119. So 119 is this Papa chose to become his address. Next slide. Another view of Pata in the 60s. So one of them is next to the Pata, they have this national, Panasonic advertisement board, 100 feet tall and about 100 feet wide also. So it's a landmark in Singapore. So torn down in 1974. This is a period where Singapore start to have a urban renewal, and many shops are torn down. So some of the places like this one was become a temporary occupant. So 63 to 74, when you see this advertisement signboard, that is a dating. Then before that is don't have. Many interesting photo you can find in Facebook. So Jurong Lim is one of the key contributor, and he know a lot about this past landmark. Next slide. Then for elevation, people also familiar. We use letter surface with ABC to tell different level. But this system have a problem when Singapore start to develop, building getting taller and taller. So you will realize that I and O they don't use. So you're getting very confusing exactly how many level they are talking about. So 24 characters, these are alphabet, you minus I and O, and all these things, you got not enough because buildings are taller than that. So then certain people don't like to use number 13, superstitious reason. So you look at the next slide. These are the issues you see on the left hand side, A to Z, 2 to 8, A to H, I, they skip, J, and so this is the old system. So Peninsula Plaza is an example. Though any building built before 1980 is using this numbering system. So in 1980 to 83, they got 3-year program to change, renumber all the building into the new system that I say, the new format. So some of the Peninsula, they're using three-digit system. The first digit talking about the floor level. 1 is number 2, then after the 01 is usually number. So number 11 is number 11 floor is number 10 because first level they don't have number, right? So this is still very confusing. Look at the next photo. So this is 80 that they publish this index. So inside there got 45,000, if I'm not wrong, you need to rename. Then in the they got 3 parts. Then the third part is some of the building in those days don't have house number. They are recognized by building name because they are too popular. Like I suspect even National Museum also normally people don't remember it's 93 Stamford Road. So Cathay Building, Asian Insurance Building. So people remember by their name. So in the 80s, people write to the paper and complain because it's a form of change the official name to number and straight become a loss of heritage because people remember this heritage name. There is a little chapter, but I think today people are still like to call the building by name. Okay, next slide. And this one is come from that index. So I think we are familiar with this. So have to remember the date is 1980. All new building had to follow the new system. By 1983, all the old building had to be renumbered. But some houses cannot change because it's too complicated. So for example, next slide. Tiong Bahru, I said, you have one floor, inside there got a front and the back. So in front is A, behind is B, so C and D. So you look at third floor, 22C and 22D, actually you prefer the front and the back. So inside there, they got a small flight of stair to go behind to access to the real unit. So I realized Tiong Bahru is different from many others places, and they cannot change it because we are looking for one of the famous writer, newspaper editor, Yu Dafu, who very active in Singapore, participate in this anti-Japanese fundraising campaign. So there is a address. I can't remember it's 22C or I remember it's 22B. So we have to look for this unit. So many people got the thing wrong. So after that, we from this evidence, so I conclude that it should be 22B, block 70. I can't remember this block already. So this is one of the field work that very interesting to rediscover some of the famous figure once stay in this building. Eventually, this gentleman ran over to Sumatra and got killed by Japanese. There's a block number down there. So this is another story chapter of Singapore Japanese occupation. Next slide. So house number block HDT block also have some secret out there. In the olden day, you go block 1, but then to 12, 20 or what. But new estate don't have. They all follow 3-digit code. They make use of the first digit to give to show the sector of the housing estate. So people nowadays will say, I stay in 700 plus, 300 plus. Actually, it's trying to tell you which sector of that their flat is come from. So next block. Next slide. Then we also have some legacy from colonial time. So you see those Chitby Garden, Serangoon Garden, formerly is specially built for British family, military family. So they don't have number 13 until today, especially Serangoon Garden. Almost every state you don't find number 13. Next slide. So Goodwood Hill, olden day, somehow they have number 13, but after the war, they in the 50s, they changed the number 15. So this superstitious thinking sometimes is getting popular, but probably I got no proof is after the war. This is some of the interesting things that we can find out. This slide also can tell in the earlier day got lesser building. So modern day they start to insert new building at the side, or you convert some of the divided the building into 2 different units. So they use A and B at the back. So for example, 15A, there is 15 and 15A, something like that. Next slide. Peixiang Road, similar situation. Now, there was number 13 in the past, but now they omit number 13, gone already. So 11 come to number 15. Formerly number 13 now becomes 77. So that's why we need to double check. with many other sources. Next slide. Color of the number also tell different story. I think everybody know what does this mean in Kongsha Street. So number 8, I think it's gone already recently, not long ago, closed down. 6, I'm not sure. So this is a red light district because all the number is in red. Geylang, Kongsha Gai, we can find there. Next slide. Then SLA managed estate is former military and government quarters. So black letter with white. So this is also unique in Singapore. So many good class bungalow their number is in this design. Next slide. Rural area is by landmark again. I give you some example. This one will go faster. Next slide. So many of us are aware that in the olden day, we measured our major thoroughfare by this milestone. But actually, before that, they have this binary system. That means they break the long road, outer outlayer road to Changi, to Seletar, Thomson by 2 parts. The further one, they just call it upper. So all the major road, just now we saw the Thomson Road, the major one is still survive today. They have Upper Changi Road, Upper Thomson Road, Upper Bukit Timah. This is one simple way to break them into 2 parts. Rural area upper. So normally it's at number, for Serangoon Road example, is number 3 mile, they become upper. Some is up to 7 mile, Bukit Timah become upper. So then these more detailed sections in the olden day, they even break down to half, 7 mile and a half, 7 mile and a quarters. So milestone, we have this system. So the 0 point come from Fullerton Hotel. That last time is a general post office. Then next level is when you reach the desired milestone, then you have to, next layer is which village. So they got Malay kampong and Chinese kampong always next to each other. So you go to the right kampong, then you open your mouth and ask. Then you find somebody that you want. Postman will know everybody in the past. So kampong is very small. There is the way of life in the past. So next slide. This is another example of milestone or mark on the map. So we have only 1 mile because start from Fullerton. So recently, Fullerton Hotel marked the 0 point in front of the Fullerton Hotel. There is a map. So from number 1, for example, Stamford Road, 1 mile, they branch out one to Mandarin Hotel there, number 2. Another number 2 is in Serangoon Road. So number 2 mile maybe have more than 4. So this is what happened. So luckily we have saved one of the 1 milestone in the museums. So property come from Stamford Road. So currently we have 2 in our collection, 1 mile and 3rd mile. Next slide. So this is how the milestone look like. So they even have a Chinese character. You see the one slope. There is the Yi Hao one. If you 3 mile, you got the 3 slope, Sanhua. Next slide. So use landmark is this is a method. So many of us maybe I have forgotten how to recognize the Chinese character, but if you read properly, they still have a chance to figure out what is this landmark about. So for example, this is some of the relative location. Now we say under the tree, under the mountain. So under the tree, they use lake. At the beginning of the road junction, they call kou, this is mouth. So they use the body part to tell the story. So next slide will elaborate more. Sometimes use color of the bridge. So they call 黑桥、红桥什么这样. So next one is some of the example of the Chinese name. I'm trying to use a simplest method to decode. So example of this Lim Boon Keng, he have this clinic in Wang Jia San Jiao, Shenqi San 二马路. So it's Hill Street 4202. So one way is you try to search the street time because advertisement normally in both sides. The other way is you check the Chinese name directory. So this will help you to find out where is this place. Next slide. More example, next slide. So three systems. One is English official name. One is Chinese official name. Normally you don't have many meaning. They just use sound. Stanford Road, Stanford Road, some Middle Road, Mito Road. So basically they just translate. So but because it's very difficult to understand, so they have come out their own Chinese system. So that is how we got problem to understand the older generation is because of this. Next slide. From this next slide, 1930s street directory. Those in the yellow box is the Chinese name. Then the conical name, like you say. So those underline is a general name. So you break the Chinese street name into two parts, specific and general. So you look at the first example, Arab Street, Yala, specific. Sideli basically is a translation of street. Sideli, street, then it come out Sideli. So another example, you look at this number Canning Race. So race become rice. Canning rice it become 来世. So you have bridge become 物理治. So if on the right hand side, I point out all these general name, easy identify. Place 不理事, place. So you got this name right, then you can tell what you at least you can interpret half of them already. Then the first part you try to read them into faster, change the 3-syllable word into 1 syllable, then you will get most probably you can got it right. So this is the example of Chinese system. I think you have time going screen capture this. This is one of the fastest way to to decode Chinese character. Next slide. Almost the second half of the last part of my presentation. Postal code, we very quickly go through only 3 systems. You can find them in this directory. So 95, 2 character, change to 4 character, and so on. Next slide. So very simple system is 2-digit code, start from 1955. So total are 28 of them. So in 1979, next slide, every postal district, they break it down into a smaller district. So then they got total of 80 of them. So they prefix by the first 2 digits is the earlier postal code district, then they call it postal area. So you got 80 postal area. So for example, 010 break into 3 parts, become 0103, 0102. So then 02 become 04, 05. So in 1995, they take away the first postal district. Then they start to use the postal area, the smaller sector, the 80 of them. Then the first 2 digits is the postal area. The next 4 digits is the house number, especially the HDB block. Look at the next slide. This is a 80 postal area. So people can't do away with some of the postal district like number 9, 10, 11 because of the property market. So they don't want break into such a smaller area. They still call them number 11, the postal district, number 12, number 15, Marine Parade. So people are still using the very early system. Next slide. Now this is a zoom in. So online you can find out all the people try to summarize. Number 10 break into 24, 20, 26, 28, and 7 like that. So these are the number 15, you got 42, 44, 45, 46, 44. Next slide. This is 6 digit. So one thing that not many people tell is if in a private estate or shop house or what, the first out of the behind 4 digit, right? The first digit actually is a sub index for a certain sector. So you see in the HDB flat, they like normally the first digit or is the 3 number block number, right? Then the other first digit actually they use for civic building, community center, market, and what they like to use 9. So for example, 809 something something is a community space. It's not the block number. Next. So you put them into a chart, then actually you can help you to date. So you cross-check postal code, telephone number, basically can narrow down to 10 different era. So you hear 50, 60, 70, 80, or after 90s. So you add in more of these checklists, for example, traditional Chinese character, simplified Chinese character, it can even help you to date many artifacts, help you to tell story. So come to the end. Next slide. So after showing you and sharing my experiences of going through searching for story from our pioneer, then I realized that addresses is very crucial because it's just a mapping to pin down the actual location. Then from there, you got the orientation right, you got the distance right, then you can do many wonders. They just like present day terminology talking about NOT and the link. So it's a specific location, just like a GPS. So it's worked very well, but need to be careful because they got renumbering and different system in the past. Luckily, it's not that complicated. So all addresses is codable. At this moment, we didn't really go into that in our digital system, and most of the system is have to keep updating. That's why we always have a problem to look for the old address through digital platform. One solution is buy straight directory to keep as a reference. So you see a lot of old straight directory with telephone directory, they are going for $100 and over. For the people who really need it, they're willing to pay for the entire price. Then by doing this, it's still not enough because we are I'm kind of the layman using traditional method, like many of yours at this moment still don't access to many of the data, even though we are in the this modern day digital world, but many of the things you need many times to go through it. So we don't want to lose our ability to go to the field and stay connected. So these people like Thompson and what, they go down to the field, they become a master is because they walk the ground. So now here I show a series of oldest directory that yet to be processed. So some of them already digitized by NLB. Many of them are still got plenty of this hidden info treasure inside there. So I hope this presentation can also stir some of the interest for people who are willing to spend time, share the effort with me or with any other or on their own. I'm willing to share whatever we have, just like more and benefit everybody, and the road to this understanding of our future, our road will be very enjoyable. Thank you very much. Time for questions. So the sound's okay, right, or throughout? Because I can't hear any response. Okay, background region on. Oh, right. If not necessarily related to a person, they relate to shop also, the trade. So related to person is very common practice, but they are also related to the shop. For example, Funan is a shop of this Lau Kimpon, the founder of Shangling Temple. So he owned a remittance shop in Funan. So the shop name is called Funan. So that one is one of the street. I think Dr. David did write about the Royal Street in one of his paper. So whole the Royal Street was made by him in the 70s, 80s. So another thing is if you name after a famous person, they also have few type. If this person is very prominent, is one of the official in municipal, most probably he doesn't stay there. They just want to commemorate them. New road, they decide to name after them, like Clementi and all this. So some of the lesser known Chinese name or Malay name actually is named after the landowner. So in olden day, people own a piece of land. When they decided to open up the road and take over by the municipal, they had to municipal will take care of the maintenance of the road, have the laying out water supply, lighting, all this. So they become a public road. Once they become a public road, there is a practice to use estate owner name. So some of the smaller lane, you see, you sounds like a person name and lesser known one. Normally he is the estate owner. So our Tom Fider, Charlie Go and Raymond Go, very good at this, looking for owner of this estate. They go to the SLA website, self service, log in the number, then you pay $20, they'll buy you the estate detail. Then sometimes the name of owner was in there. So what is the meaning of it? Oh, there is red color in the olden day. There is a very popular entertainment hub in the olden day. Means prostitute was there. So we call Oku King. In Chinese, very interesting thing is all the king is not very good one. Kiao King, gambling den. Oku King, prostitute den. Kagu King is a prison, all the king. So but the temple king is okay. So okay, number 8, that one is usually formally they have a business upset. So red color, white background. Hope answer your questions. Urban landscape. Thanks for the encouragement.